everybody. It's a beautiful morning outside. It's a beautiful morning. Yeah, I think I'll go outside and I don't know the rest of the words. But the two trials are wrapping up on National Chocolate Chip Cookie Day. Stay tuned. Good morning, everybody. It's Rebecca. Welcome to Crafting and Crime Daily, another Thursday. This is a show where I bring you recaps of live trials and a vlog about my life, which, as you guys know, is about to change drastically. So, of course, I've got to fill up my time, right? So I volunteered to run the Craftathon. It used to be called DP-a-thon. A lot of you might know it as that, where we have a diamond painting marathon, but I don't really consider myself a diamond painting channel anymore. I do all crafts and I do the crime. So we changed it to Craftathon. Crafts with Crashly is going to be my co-host. Mickey Sunshine Creates is helping out with the spreadsheets. But if you are interested in doing a live, if you're a creator and you want to do a live during the Craftathon, if you do any craft at all and you're a creator, there's a Google form. I will put a link in the description to the form. And I have to tell you, the like button is incredibly excited about this. He wants to participate too. And I said, no, you're not a YouTube creator. You're just the like button. So make sure you hit the like button on your way in or out of the video today. Don't forget to subscribe if you're enjoying the content, because it is absolutely free to subscribe. And the notification bell. Somebody said, I didn't get notified of the live. You have to make sure you hit all, and then hopefully you'll get notified. There's a lot of times I don't get notified on stuff that I know I'm subscribed to, which is kind of weird. That's a YouTube thing. But so last night on Craft With Me Wednesday, this is a live that I do once a week, 6 p.m. Central Time on Wednesday. So last night, each Wednesday I'll do a different craft, and I bought some new ones to do. I need to do those. What was the one I just bought? I don't remember. I'll have to find it. So last night I was doing watercolor. I had bought this black watercolor paper, and I tried to do watercolor on it. And watercolor, I quickly learned, is just way too transparent to go onto this black paper. I'll show you the result. I haven't thrown it all away. Okay. Here we go. I mean, it doesn't look bad, and I was kind of using this glossy watercolor that I have that has sort of a shimmer to it. This is a regular color here, so it does show up, but I just don't feel like it acts like watercolor. That probably doesn't make sense to you, but unless you do watercolor. This was, I was trying to recreate the Aurora Borealis, up here. And this is supposed to be a tree, but it just was not happening, because it just felt like the paper wasn't accepting the paint and the water. It just wanted the paint. So I was looking for my gouache. I kept saying gouache. I think that it wasn't gouache in the Ghostbusters movie or something. I don't know where I got that from. I found the gouache after the show. I told you I would. So I did a painting with the gouache. Oh, look how gorgeous. Yeah. That's the painting with the gouache. Now, so it handles this black paper beautifully. Now, I want to spend some time doing some other things with this gouache, but probably not today because it's a little messy. This is a painting I started last night. I had done the main flower, and I just love this shimmery blue purple that this flower turned out to be. And then after the show, I was talking to my bestie and just adding in some little flowers there at the bottom. I don't know if you can see them all because they're there. That's probably the best look. I'm kind of proud of this one. I really like this one, especially the color of this flower. It's gorgeous. Now, I don't know what the name of this flower is because I just make them up, as I go. This is the gouache right here. This is what I was looking for. this huge big thing, and I will show you. I'm wearing a white dress. Of course I'm wearing a white dress today, but I will show you what this stuff looks like. What it looks like compared to watercolor. Okay. Yeah. And the colors are amazing in here. Really, really amazing. Yeah. So maybe a different Wednesday we'll play around with the gouache. Gorgeous, like purples and teals, and this is, I'm learning new terms, more opaque. This is more of an opaque, so it does handle well on the black watercolor paper. But if you're just starting out, just get white paper. Don't get the most expensive white paper, but you want to get 140 pound. Make sure it says 140 pound cold press. You can get it at Hobby Lobby. Doesn't have a big selection. They have their brand. Look, it has a little handle. God forbid you ever drop the darn thing. Oh, I could knit. Look. I could sit and knit while I talk to you guys today. But Joann's has a good selection as well. None of them carry a lot of brands, but I like the paper that they sell at Joann's. I've used it before and I like it. So if you're heading to the craft store today, and don't spend a lot of money on paints until you figure out which ones that you like. Now see, I've already got green paint on me. Well, at least it's not on my dress. Not on my dress. Now see. No. Hi, Tootsie. Hi, Tootsie. You want to go outside? So yesterday in the trials, let's just get right to the trials. Oh my word. The Nikolas Cruzs trial, they have not had the jury view. That is today. So that is what they are doing today. Yesterday, it was a continuation of the victim impact statements from the various family members. So I switched over to the Alex Jones trial. Now, Alex Jones is on trial against Neil Heslin and Scarlett, his ex-wife. I did find out they're not married anymore. She has a different last name. Alex Jones had already been found liable for defamation as to Neil Heslin, and liable for intentional infliction of emotional distress as to both of those plaintiffs. And the reason that he was found liable is because he refused to participate in discovery. He would not appear for depositions. He wouldn't turn over documents. So the remedy was the judge just said, okay, you lose. You're liable by default. So this trial was to determine the damages. So Alex continued to be on the stand yesterday. He has this raspy voice, and he says it's because he needs larynx surgery, and he coughs and he hacks. And so in the Alex Jones case, we start out with the continuation of the testimony of Alex Jones. His attorney was not finished. He was asked, how much of your total time was spent talking about Sandy Hook on all your platforms? And he said 1/10 of 1%. I don't know how we got those figures. 5 to 6 hours total. Now, they were trying to kind of rehabilitate him. His attorney said, now, you initially said that this whole thing was a hoax. Do you realize how crazy that sounds? And he says, yes, I do. I realize it now. He explained that he was basing his opinion off of other people's opinions. Other people would come to him and he would just accept what they had to say and broadcast it. And he now realizes how wrong that was. Little too late, Alex. He explained that he ended his coverage of Sandy Hook in the middle of 2015 when he realized he was probably wrong and that it was not a hoax. At this point in his life, he was getting cleaned up. He had gotten a divorce, he had stopped drinking, and he realized probably what he was saying was wrong. So he went for a period of time from the middle of 15 to sometime in 2017 where he did not talk about Sandy Hook for 16 months. He claims that, the public will not let him take this back. They just won't let me apologize. They are building me into this monster for political gain. I think because Hillary Clinton mentioned him in 2016, because 2016 was election year, and Hillary Clinton mentioned Alex Jones and his rhetoric. Alex quoted someone else by saying, never let a good crisis go to waste. Oh my God. He says, we are allowed to explore all avenues of a story, and we are selling more products than mainstream media ever has. He did say that he lost a large part of his audience over the Sandy Hook coverage. Now, there's no way to prove any of this because he didn't turn over any documentation, financial documentation, or any proof that he lost any of his audience. All we have to go on is his word. Now, he was asked about what is your current belief about Sandy Hook? What do you currently believe about that murder, that mass murder? And he believes that it was initially a cover-up, that there was a young man on psychotropic medication, and he's very against the psychotropic medication. He believes that it's overprescribed, that this is what is causing the mass shootings, this behavior. He believes that the FBI had warnings about this shooter prior to the shooting happening, and they did nothing. He said, his job on his show is just to try to give people a voice, try to get people to ask questions. Not to take everything the mainstream media says at face value. Now that I understand, and I don't. I do question a lot of things. But by no means do I believe that every single thing is a conspiracy. And his job is to protect the Second Amendment. Freedom of speech. Or is that the First Amendment? Okay. One's guns, one's speech. Both. Whatever. So now the prosecution gets to cross-examine him. And he says, you're not taking this trial seriously, are you, Mr. Jones? Yes, I am. Well, isn't it true that on your talk show last Friday, you were talking about the judge in this case? And that she's rigging the case to create a literal script? And he's like, no, I didn't say that. So, of course, they put the show up, and first they put into evidence a picture of the judge. I'll put that up here for you. A picture of the judge with there's a judge in Connecticut that's over the other family cases. So there's the Texas judge on one side, the Connecticut judge on the other side, and in the middle is this scales of justice. And there's flames. And he said this stands for these judges consuming freedom. Then, of course, he did play the clip from Friday, and it was not Alex saying this. It was one of his other on-air personalities saying that the judge was rigging the trial. But this is Alex's show. But Alex apparently claimed not to have known any of this. They did show a clip of him criticizing the jury, saying they're just a bunch of blue-collar workers, that half of them don't even know what planet they live on. What? Yeah, he said that on his show. So, of course, they played it for the jury. Here's some of the events that Alex Jones has covered that he believes are not real. the Boston bombing. He believed that that was fake, that it was some kind of exercise that they were doing that went wrong. He thinks that the shooting of Gabby Gifford was an experiment in mind control. And as far as Oklahoma City, he said, absolutely, absolutely, that was a false flag. That I know, he started to say he's interviewed police officers, he's interviewed this person and that person. It absolutely was a government cover. You know, the government did this. And there were other bombs set to go off, and, you know, and the judge had to stop him at this point and cut him off. He believed that the Parkland shooting, the other trial that we're covering with Nikolas Cruzs, he said the Parkland shooting was also a false flag by the government, meant to start a civil war. And he also believed that the Las Vegas shooting was also a false flag. He likes that term, false flag. In other words, this is not what it seems to be. It's actually a government, something that the government created to try to control the narrative, you know, about gun control and what have you. There was a question about texting something on his phone. No, never did that. And he said, well, let me show you. And he shows him some text from his phone. And he's like, how'd you get that? And he goes, well, would it surprise you to know that last week your attorney accidentally turned over about 200 pages worth of documents? Everything that was on your cell phone, we have. And you could see steam coming out of Alex Jones's ears. Steam. Now, he said on prior testimony that he doesn't do email. He says, I can't respond to all the emails I get. Then he kind of backed off when he was confronted with some emails. And he says, well, I dictate emails, but it goes on my personal email. I don't have a work email. Everything's qualified with him. Then the plaintiff attorney somehow got a hold of documents, financial documents, about how much this guy makes per day revenue on advertising, on selling these supplements and advertising. So he hands it to Alex, and Alex says, wow, you picked a good one. This was our best ever. These are our best. I remember this because it was the best we'd ever done. And it showed that they were making about $800,000 a day selling these supplements, which equates to about $300 million a year. At this point, I'm going, why did I just say $100 million? Let's make it $300 million. Oh my God. $300 million a year selling these supplements, which he said, he was asked, you know, they're not approved by the FDA, are they? He says, no, and they don't have to be. There's a clause, some kind of out, you know, that certain supplements do not have to be approved by the FDA. Which I actually believe, because there's a lot of stuff out there that is not FDA approved. But you're not allowed to make false claims about your product, like that, you know, it cures COVID. So then the jury was allowed to ask questions. And based on those questions, I kind of didn't know what to make of them, really. It just seems like there really are some people on some Alex Jones fans on that jury. But if he had that wide of an audience, I mean, you could expect that might be the case. So then we get closing arguments. Now, the closing argument of the plaintiff it just went through everything we heard at trial. And at the end, he asked this was just closings for the actual damages. Now, once the jury will go back and deliberate and decide on actual damages. If they don't believe that there's any damages at all, they can come back with a ruling of $1. If they believe that there are damages, then they can give an amount of money to each plaintiff that will compensate them for their damages. Once they decide on actual damages, then they will come back and decide on punitive damages, and then the plaintiff and the defense attorneys will get up and make their argument about punitive damages. Now, in this case, the actual damages are pain and suffering and the therapy that this family has had to go through. And the plaintiff was asking for $75 million per plaintiff, $150 million. He says, just let's give him $1 for every click on Alex Jones's website. Cool argument. And so last night, I had it was just such a busy evening with the live, and then sorting out emails and things like that. I think I'm going to be busier not working than I am working with all this stuff that I'm getting into. But in any case, I sat down in the bed to relax, and I'm going to listen to the defense's closing argument. So I get all comfortable and I start listening to the defense attorney, this first-year lawyer's closing argument. I have no idea what he said. I fell sound asleep. I'm sorry. It was so boring. I could hear him in my, how you're like not asleep, but you're asleep, and you can hear him, like Charlie Brown's teacher, wah, 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 wah. And to me, in my haze, I kept thinking, he keeps saying the same thing. Why does he keep saying the same thing? Before I knew it, it was over. I'm like, what? He just said the same thing. Yeah. And what he was arguing was that, there really are no, he says, as far as actual damages, yeah, give them the amount that it's going to cost for them to get therapy for the rest of their lives. But don't punish them in this phase of the trial. Don't punish Alex Jones and his company in this phase of the trial. This is not the punishment phase. He says he was emphasizing that you're going to come back and deliberate again on the amount of punitive damages. But at this point, you're just looking at actual damages. He doesn't have much of an argument, to be honest with you. He really doesn't. So I have a community poll. Look on my community page, and you will find a poll that all it does is it asks you as a juror, how much would you give for damages, just total. I think as a juror, I would go with like 100 million. I would just say 100 million, because you want to teach them a lesson. You want to make sure that this never happens to another family. Now, the defense is arguing that if you give these people money, then you're shutting down free speech. Who's going to speak anymore if they're going to be afraid that they're going to get sued? Well, you shouldn't be afraid to speak. You just can't lie. Yeah, don't tell lies for your own personal sale of supplements. Yeah. And that's the truth. So the jury's going to go view the scene in the Nikolas Cruzs Parkland shooting case. Now, Nikolas Cruzs has waived his right to go to this viewing. He does not want to go back there. Imagine that. So the jury will view, and he has a right to do that. He does not have to go. So he is waiving his right to be present for the jury viewing. This school is not in session at this point. School has not started. The sheriff will let the jury in, and they will be allowed to view the scene. That will happen today. I don't know if they're going to come back to court. I believe at this point the plaintiff will rest their case and turn it over to defense counsel. I doubt very seriously if they're, unless Nikolas Cruzs wants to take the stand or make a statement, and he might. I don't know. But usually for appellate reasons, they don't at this point make a statement, unless they're just, batshit crazy and they not following their lawyer's advice and they want to make a statement. I've seen that happen, but I think Nikolas will probably choose not to say anything. I saw an interview with the couple that he was living with, and it was apparently the first time they had spoke out about this whole thing. And they said they've been very devastated by it, for the families, that they took Nikolas in November of the prior year, and he seemed completely normal. They said, we had rules in our house. He followed those rules. He was friends with our son, who also went to this Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. Now, Nikolas went to a different school. Because Nikolas is an exceptional student. Not brilliant exceptional, but exceptional by meaning he has to have accommodations. I don't know if he's on the spectrum. It's never been discussed. But he goes to a school specific to his intellect. But he was allowed to go over to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas for certain classes. Now, on February 14th, the morning of February 14th, he opted not to go to school that day. He told his father, not his father, he told the man that he was living with, the father, I don't go to school on Valentine's Day. So they're like, nah. And they said that wasn't unusual. There were some times when he just didn't want to go to school. So they didn't think anything of it. And then later, when they heard about the shooting, found out about it when they got a phone call from the police saying, we have your son in custody. And he's like, he's not my son. And he explained what the situation was. And then he called his real son, who was actually fleeing the building at the point that he's calling him. And so they were pretty devastated by this whole thing. They just didn't know him well, and clearly, how do you have this person living with you and you don't know that he's got this huge sport rifle that he's modifying, and he's got all these rounds of ammunition, and I don't know, I guess he just hit it well. Crazy. Let's talk about this day in history. That old, it's not a nursery rhyme, it's just a rhyme. Lizzie Borden took an axe, gave her mother 40 whacks. Remember that one? We would jump rope to it, but Lizzie Borden was a real person, and her parents died tragically. This was in August of 1892. She lived with her parents. She was 32 years old, a spinster. And her mother was found tragically bludgeoned. The father was found bludgeoned. Lizzie was suspected of this murder. Because there was a dress that she had burned about a week after the murder. This family was very wealthy. They had a net worth in today's dollars of $10 million. And her father was one of the most unpopular men in town. But the blame was placed for these murders on Lizzie Borden with no evidence. Now, they had the ability to do fingerprint evidence on a weapon that was found down in the basement. It was an axe. But they didn't do it because back then it was not that reliable, so they just didn't do it. So they put her in front of a jury of 12 men, and with no blood evidence, they did not find any blood on Lizzie. They had no fingerprint evidence on the weapon, nothing to pin her to this murder. She was found innocent. She got off. In reality, the murder weapon was a hatchet, not an axe. But hatchet doesn't rhyme, so it didn't fit into the rhyme for the jump rope. Well, Lizzie and her sister inherited their estate. They inherited all the money. Lizzie bought a very fancy house. She stayed in the area. She spent the rest of her life traveling, visiting beautiful places. She was accused of having, she was suspected of having a relationship with an actress, and she passed away in 1927 of old age. Lizzie Bowden took an axe, gave her mother 40 whacks. That's a terrible song. It really is terrible. I never thought much of it. Oh my goodness. Alright, here I am knitting away. Knit one, knit one. No, there's no purl too. Look, 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 look. I like the ombre effect of this beautiful yarn. It is Premier Moment yarn. And there have been all these yarn sales, and I have resisted because of my arm. Even now, I can feel it. So, there we go. I am going back to the crochet because I've got some commissions I got to finish up. And I just don't have a choice. You know, I cannot stop living my life because I have a little bit of a pain. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the show today. Tomorrow's Friday, end of the week. Don't forget to get over to the community page and tell me how much money you would award in damages. Total, you know, actual and punitive. We just roll it all into one. Whenever I can bring you live today, I will try to do that outside of the work day. If you are part of the Great Escape Diamond Painting event, don't forget to visit our sponsors. A lot of them have discounts, specials going on. And by tomorrow, I should know for sure if Alyssa's going to be on the show this Sunday, my live at 11 Central. Alyssa with Diamond Painting Drills. Don't forget she's got that beautiful set that she put together especially for the Great Escape. I bought a set. Oh, yes. Look how gorgeous. The Aurora Borealis. Yes. It looks even better under like a black background. A black background. Yes. Look. And they're glow in the darks. I'm saving mine for a Halloween painting. You're like, what? You're going to start another painting? Not yet. Not yet. So this afternoon, I'm going to probably paint some more because you know how much I love to paint. And then I'll get my diamond painting back out. Yeah. All right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I love you all. Don't forget to hit the like button. Yep. Love you all. Bye.